Good afternoon and welcome to Savage Universe. I'm JM and we are coming at you at a off-brand time on an off-brand day because we had some technical issues with servers that were beyond our control. And joining me today is Aviv and Eran from up to 4 players. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Of course. So I was telling you guys yesterday that I am very familiar with that 2-page comic that you did for how to play Savage Worlds, because when I came to Savage Worlds, I was. Ooh, we got an echo. Hold on. Let me see who is echoing. Who?
Is it all of us? Or?
It might be all of us. I don't know.
We do whatever the chat say.
Which
echoey? We simply believe. We accept.
Yeah, I don't hear an echo.
No, I don't hear an echo as well.
Except for that echo right there. Okay, so I'm saying that he didn't hear an echo.
Interesting.
So it looks like it's YouTube. Sorry, M-Beards, about that. Don't know what's going on with that, but it's par for the course for the
hey
for our Savage Universe experience this week. So I got into Savage Worlds through Savage Rifts, and when I went to look for how to play Savage Worlds, you guys, your comic came up. So
Yay.
Why don't you introduce yourselves? Why don't we talk about how you got into Savage Worlds and what you love about it?
Am I starting? Okay.
You are starting.
I am starting. So hi, I'm Aviv. I'm an artist, illustrator, comic artist. I've been playing tabletop games because of this guy. I think. I'm not sure where I'm pointing. Yeah, because of you. Started playing when I was 20 years ago. And the first time I played Savage Worlds was with Eran as well. We had a little group. We just finished a very big D&D campaign, I think, and we wanted to try a bunch of different role-playing game systems, and Savage Worlds was one of them. And I don't remember the name of the. It was a one-shot. It wasn't a campaign that we ran.
Yeah. The fantasy one-shot that came with that over there. I think it was even before Deluxe. I think it was maybe even Explorers. It was the Eye of Kilcarto.
Yes. Very jungle exploration, big snakes in the Amazon River type thing. It was very fun. And I think that's when I think I fell in love with Savage Worlds with that game.
Hello, I'm Eran. I'm a writer, editor, indie creator in the tabletop space. My day job is as an editor for Son of Oak. They do City of Mist. They do Legend in the Mist. And I am also putting out my own stuff, and I write for Goodman Games and stuff like that. And I started role-playing games before Aviv. I've been playing for probably something like 30, 35 years. Most of the time as a GM. I love being a GM. And most of the time I'm running things that other people have already created, which is actually one of the things that drew me to Savage Worlds, because there are plot point campaigns, and I love the idea that you get. First of all, there weren't a lot of plot point campaigns when Savage Worlds just came out. There were, if you wanted something that goes through several adventures, the idea of adventure path of Paizo didn't really existed yet, and that was awesome. And also, it's it's sort of like fluffy. You don't have to run a plot point campaign exactly in order, and you only get like a page for an adventure, and that's enough. Just come up with whatever, give bonuses or whatever, put something, whatever, because it's Savage Worlds, and once you get the basics of Savage Worlds, everything else is easy, which is one of the reasons why we decided to go with Savage Worlds when we sat down to create our comics, Crystal Heart.
Well, let's start there. Like, tell us about Crystal Heart, and tell us about, like, do you want to share the news? Like, this is great news, and we've got some art to show off.
Let's start with the news. Let's explain what we hear. Aviv. what's the point?
So, for those who don't know, Crystal Heart started as a webcomic that we posted once a week for 7 years. And the big news that we announced a couple of months ago is that Dark Horse is publishing the whole comic, all 310 pages of it, plus a few more, as a big trade paperback book, which is incredibly exciting, and that's coming out this November.
That's awesome.
I think it's going to be the first comic, Savage World comics ever printed.
I think you might be right. I need to go to my local comic store and be like, I would like to pre-order this.
I'll tell you what, it definitely. First of all, yes, please do that.
Yes.
Second of all, and you can do it through many other places as well. Up24players.com is where we placed all of your pre-order links. You can do through Amazon or whatever, but we really recommend you do it through your local friendly gaming or comic store. And I think maybe it might be the only comics that teaches you how to play Savage Worlds as well, and maybe the only comics that teaches you how to play any role-playing game at all.
I don't know that anyone else would have thought to keep that. Like that I love that. Like, we're going to show off some pages, and it's I mean, it's clear as we go through the pages that, like, I was telling you guys yesterday, like the panel where they get into combat, we've got the action cards behind them. I'm like,
show it.
Let's all right, so let's start with the comic that I found you guys through. What possessed you to do a 2-page How to Play Savage Worlds comic?
Can I explain it? Do you want to explain it?
You go for it.
Okay, because it goes a bit back in the lore. First of all, Aviv and I didn't start with Crystal Heart. We started with doing the comics before that. Up24Players is the name of that comics originally. It started almost like 10 years ago now, I think. And it was mostly about, that's the
No, I think 11. Yeah, you're right.
And it was 11. Okay, and it was about board games mostly, because we wanted to go for the wider participant audience, and we didn't think there were enough role players. And also, it's really hard to do a comics about role players that isn't continuous sequential chapters telling a story.
Yes.
And we didn't want to tell a story.
And board games also have all these amazing visual bits and stuff and dice and little meeples that you move around. So they make a very good subject for a visual book.
Yes.
We just did like 2 strips a week, and a strip is like 3 panels, and that's it. And it was pretty straightforward. It was still a lot of work, obviously, for Aviv, obviously. And we also did it both in English and in Hebrew for some reason. But okay, yes.
That's fantastic.
And then we got to the point where we said, okay, we do want to talk. I mean, we love role-playing games. We want to talk about role-playing games. Let's show them playing a role-playing game. And you know what? Let's teach the game. I'm not sure what made us decide to go into such details, but correct me if I'm wrong, Aviv. We did this originally for Age of the Empire?
Yes, the Star Wars RPG.
The Star Wars RPG. They came to play the Star Wars RPG. I don't know why we chose that one. I think it was all the rage at the time. And we created a 2-page explanation of how to play Star Wars RPG. And it was the bomb. Not only did everyone liked it, we liked it. And we thought, this is actually, I mean, it's difficult and it's time consuming, but it is also, once you do it, it's so useful. Let's do some more. And that's how we did like 5. We did one for City of Mist. There's one for Fate. There's one for the spy game. There's one for Savage Worlds. Obviously, the big one. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I give this to people when I'm like, hey, do you guys want to play Savage Worlds? I run a kids game at my local comic store, and we just did Savage Worlds. And when we go back to it, my plan is to print the comic out and hand it to all of the kids and be like, this is all that you need to know about Savage Worlds.
Yep, that was the intent when we did that.
Oh, that's
awesome. To be entirely correct, this actually shows the rules for deluxe and not completely all the rules. I mean, it's the difference. The difference is between calling it a test of wills and a test. That's the only difference that really needs to be changed. And also, I would have added vulnerable and distracted if I could do it for adventure. But that's like beyond that, it really works still. So,
Yeah,
which
that's
by the way is incredible thing for Savage Worlds. Every
Yeah.
edition of Savage Worlds is basically the same, but just a tiny little better. Just little.
I've often said what I like about Shane and Clint and Daryl, their design philosophy seems to be the game will be done when we can't take anything else away from the game, not when we can add a bunch of new stuff to the game. Because like you start with Deadlands, and each iteration takes like charisma gets pulled away, certain things get pulled away because they're better explained or refined in different spots, and the game gets narrower and narrower while still being just this very robust system. It's almost like sculpting, right? It's done when I've taken everything away.
A few I don't want to say anything bad about other games, and it's not exactly something bad, but like a week ago I'm in the middle of reading Daggerheart, the new thing.
Yeah.
And in the middle of it I had to stop and I think I wrote on Blue Sky or something like the more a game tries to be more heroic, energetic, exciting, the more it's evolutionarily converged towards Savage Worlds because it has toughness, basically.
Yes.
For example, replacing hit points. I mean, they have hit points, but you get to them through toughness because that's the way to go. That's the simplest, best way if you want to have it both interesting and also just a number and go ahead.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, let's look at some of the pages because they are just gorgeous. I cannot wait to have a physical copy of this.
Same.
This is going to be great. I'm so excited for you guys. Like, well, I'm selfish. I like you guys will see all the pages, hopefully long in advance. But like, I got to wait till November to hold it physically in my hands.
We are so excited about this, and this cover. Okay, so funny behind the scenes story. When we initially got in touch with Dark Horse and started working, we got the yes from them, which was great. And then there was a lot of work that had to be done on the art, on the graphics, on the lettering. Like I relettered 5 chapters roughly. The first 3 chapters of Crystal Heart were originally drawn in a different size, like page size, than the rest of the book. So I had to stretch things and fill in the gaps where there wasn't any art to go there, and just relettered the whole thing to make it more, because it's been 7 years since we've done them, and I am a better letterer now. So I want that to be reflected, and I want the book to be more readable. So there's a lot of work to go into it, which I've started grinding slowly once we had the green light from Dark Horse. It was also around the time when I was moving house, so there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then I was just getting ready to draw the cover, which I've given myself, okay, I can take like a month and a half to just think about it and percolate and really give it my all, because I was stressed about that cover. I wanted to make it the best that I could. And then our editor said, well, you can take as long as you want with the cover, but then it means that the release date is going to be pushed back like 6 months, because apparently that's how publishing works. Or you can finish it within a week and a half.
Oh, no.
Yes. So you can maybe imagine, the extreme anxiety at that moment. But also, I went into it, and I'm genuinely really happy with how the cover came out.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. And it was really important to me because I knew it was something that we would both have to stare at constantly for months as we were plugging this product from 2 months ago when we were first allowed to talk about it, and until November when it's out, and also for years afterwards, because this is our baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, That's awesome. For people who may not know about Crystal Heart or the comic, do you want to walk us through the composition of what's here on the cover?
So let's give the elevator pitch.
Sure.
Sure. I just want to start with the very basic concept. What you're seeing is sort of what we're also aiming for in the comic, which is, and nowadays we'll call it sort of like an actual play comic. Because we've realized this is exactly what we're doing. We are showing what is happening around the table and what is happening in the game. Both of them have the same amount of importance as in this art as well. And also one thing that I really like, before Viv, you give the pitch, that one of a friend of mine said that is interesting. I don't know if I told you this, Aviv. He said that he really liked how Nadav is the dude with the red. In the red, he's the GM. And that dude said how he likes that Nadav, while generally in the center, is not a big figure behind everyone with a coal, which is what you would give for a GM. And that's not our philosophy. A GM is part of the group, and we show him being vulnerable and wrong and giving off storytelling privileges to other players as well during the game. And they are all sitting around the table. So I don't know how much you intended for it, Aviv, but it excellent, good for you.
Well, it helps that there are 4 players. So if it were 5, it would have been much easier to put him in the center and being a bit more like overbearing. But thankfully, only 4 players, so it had to be a bit more balanced. But yeah, I'm really glad that comes through, because that is definitely a thing that shines in the comics as well. So yeah, as you can see, Crystal Heart is about these 4 players who are playing Savage Worlds, which is a real game. I'm going into we're at a convention and I'm trying to sell it to people, which is a real game that we are actually explaining as we go. So Nadav, the GM, his players don't really know Savage Worlds, so he takes them through the basic rules in a bit more detail than what you see in the 2-page comics, of course, because we have many pages of this. And they're playing in an original setting called Crystal Heart, in which everyone's heart is made of stone, and special agents of an organization called Sin can replace their own hearts with an elaborate, dangerous operation and socket strange crystals that they find lying around in the world that give them different sets of superpowers, and also change their personality in all kinds of weird, quirky, unpredictable ways.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sold. I mean, Civil Savage is not in the chat, but if Civil Savage were here, he would be singing the praises of this. At ChupaCabraCon last year, he was telling Tinker Hellraiser and I, about this setting and how much he wanted to bring it to the table. And I'm going to put the link in the chat right now for
like this.
That's right. That's exactly what I'm putting the link in the chat for. You can go over to Drive-Thru. You can get it I believe it's on your website as well, correct?
Our website mainly just links to.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
There are still copies you can probably order from Diffuse in the UK and stuff like that, but generally it's print on demand through Drive-Thru. Or of course, just a PDF. And all sorts of supplemental PDFs. We have some adventures, we have some resources.
You've got a do-it-yourself token kit for virtual tabletop. I think the starter kit's available on like Foundry and Fantasy Grounds.
Yes.
That's
I
awesome.
think most of it works on Fantasy Grounds, yes.
Yeah. And we have action and adventure cards, which we're very excited about.
Oh, right, yes, we created adventure cards, right, yeah.
Oh, they actually show up in the comic here and there, which was very interesting, because the action cards that we produced contain some artwork from the comic. So we were very careful to not show artwork of these characters in the comic, because that would have created some kind of narrative black hole.
That's right. You would have created some sort of singularity, and the whole thing would have collapsed in upon itself.
Exactly.
And I think it's dangerous to transport singularities through the mail, so it would have been hard to get copies of the books in.
Exactly.
So the art is fantastic. The writing is great. I love But for me, the thing that I love about Crystal Heart is the fact that it's an actual play comic. Like you can see the dice in this panel, you can see the action cards.
This is Aviv. I'm 100% sure. I no longer remember, right? But I'm 100% sure that Aviv came up with the idea of putting the cards behind the panels. That's what she's for. When you have an artist who is a gamer and she thinks visually about how to represent stuff, and not just an artist, she's a comics artist. She's been before, she's working as a comic artist now. I say she all the time, but I mean you. And so it's really, for me as a writer, it's incredibly useful because I come up with something and then she says, but we should do it like this, because she's coming from a completely different direction and thinks, okay, as the reader, when I open it, what is the visuals that I could see? And in her mind, she sees the cards. And I, for a moment, did not think about seeing the cards.
I think
just
it's really
showing them.
It was really useful that we did maybe 2 or 3 ready to roll comics before. So ready to roll are the 2-page comics that explain rules.
That is true.
That gave me a little bit of a. So here's a good
Visual
way
language.
to show rules with comics. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean that's a great point about approaching this as a comic book compared to approaching it as a role-playing game. Because in a role-playing game, the art is there to sort of support and give players the idea of what's going on in the writer and the GM's head. But in a comic book, the art is the primary visual slate. It's part of the medium. It's not. I don't feel like art in a role playing game is necessarily an afterthought. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it's
it's definitely not the thing. Yes.
And so
this is somewhere between. This is maybe a bit more like a character sheet. A character sheet requires graphic design to convey information, and Aviv has this set. Again, our Ready to Roll really helped to devise this, but I think after all of these comics, Aviv is probably one of the better, I would say, in the industry to have this skill set. Who else needed to have gone through this process to gain these sort of understandings about design?
Yeah. So one of my favorite comic book artists is Francis Manapul, and when he was on the Flash run, he was constantly breaking like the conventions of panels and doing things so that the art helped tell the story of the Flash. And I was thinking about that as I'm saying, like, the art is telling me this is a role-playing game. This is an actual play comic. I love that term.
Do you have a page? The thing that Aviv probably is the best for is the concept of showing a person portraying in the real world. Do you have one of those pages, perhaps?
I do. Let me switch. Hold on.
That's the thing that we got so much.
This page here?
Hooray for.
No, I don't think I sent you one of them. I can try to.
Give me a moment to find one.
Yeah, send me a page. I will get it. I will get it set up.
Yeah, so just to explain what we're talking about, obviously it will be much easier when we have the visual, but so this is a kind of an overlay of, okay, when you watch an actual play on YouTube or whatever, you get a sense, when the players are good enough, you get a sense of when they are speaking as people, as players, and when they are speaking as their character. And they do this with body language, they do this with accent, with their voice, all things that are very hard to convey in a comics that doesn't have movement, that doesn't have sound. So we came up with a really fun way that we actually came up with in the first original set of strips that we did about the Edge of the Empire comics, that help the reader understand, okay, so this is the player, but they are speaking as their character in a kind of overlay on top of them. And if Eran can find...
Yeah, if you send it over to me, while we're waiting, why don't you show... I know this is a panel that you wanted to show off of you. Let's talk about, I love the academics check here in the middle where it shows the rays happening.
So this whole page is what's called chasing leads, and it's a mechanic that we have in the Crystal Heart setting, where sort of in between stages of the adventure, or when you come to a new place, you like every player picks a card and you describe a thing that happens or a thing that you find in the world,
It's
determined
a
by that
more
suit.
complicated version of an interlude, a classic Savage Worlds interlude with more steps and more mechanics, generally speaking, to make it feel like a journey, like something more robust.
Yeah, and that page is just a kind of a semi-montage of them going through all these different good or bad things happening as they're exploring this new land that they ran into. It's a very fun thing to show in a comic, also a very hard page to draw because it means there are at least 3 different locations in one page, which
Yes.
but
And I love at the top they're talking about trading adventure cards.
yeah, at this point in the comic, adventure cards was something that was we've established it. We've talked about, like, Nadav the GM said, "Hey guys, I have this idea to present
I
to
think
you.
we
What do you
introduced
think
it at the
about
start
it?"
of this chapter. Yes.
Oh, at the start of this
Yes.
chapter.
I think so. I think so.
All right, let me see if I can get that.
So nothing comes as a surprise. I think we take the reader through everything Savage Worlds and also everything Crystal Heart in kind of
Yes.
a very gradual, easy to handle way.
I've placed the link in the.
Yes, I'm getting the screen share set up as we speak. All right, let's see if this comes across. All right. Let's add that to stage.
Yep. So the middle panel at the bottom is a great example of this.
This one down here. Let me zoom in on that one.
Yes. These are the 2 players, but overlaid on top of them in their own colors.
Yes, I see that.
Are just some elements of the characters. And they have different speech bubbles in the same colors in order to show that they are speaking in character. They are now in character. And this is great. And this is really great for the GM. Because Aviv, when we don't do it a lot, but when we have the GM say something in character, always a different sort of person, whatever, throughout the entire campaign, there's probably like maybe 4 or 5 instances of this happening. And this is an opportunity for Aviv to do something, whatever she can go wild with it. It's a single panel most of the time, and just Nadav looking quirky because something is overlaying on top of him, and he looks different, and it's fun.
I love that. I wish I could have augmented reality, so while I'm GMing, that would come up.
Oof.
That would. John Doom, kind of again part of the John Doom or the John Hive Mind. John Doom said, "I still send out your comic to new players, so thank you so much for creating that."
Awesome.
Happy to help.
And this was my favorite piece of the one you sent over. The critical failure on the academics check, where the player just commits to the most wrong interpretation of what is actually going on. And then that leads to some comedy happening. I feel like you guys really captured the spirit of playing Savage Worlds.
It doesn't take itself all too seriously now, does
No.
it? I mean, it's fine. It's fun. We're here to let's just roll some dice, have some fun. Let's.
We have somebody from Greece who said best comic RPG ever. Agreed.
I agree. Yes, that is correct. Yes.
So November. That's when this is coming out.
Yes,
25th.
Makes for a great Christmas gift, I think. Christmas present.
Beginning of November, end of November. Do you know at this
25th?
25th.
Okay,
yes,
awesome.
Yes. Or 27th in the UK. I don't remember, something like that. But
so you're saying is I'll get it right around Thanksgiving and then can spend my turkey coma reading through.
I have no idea what's Thanksgiving. We're in the UK. I generally heard of it, but I don't. Places in the year. I don't.
Well, is there anything else you guys would like to say or talk about Crystal Heart before we wrap this up? I know it's late for you guys. I appreciate you rescheduling. I realize server issues at Amazon are not things we can control, so I appreciate the pivot into today.
I have maybe like two things. First, we have one file. We've created some. I think this is pretty important. The rulebook does not actually address the webcomic in almost any way. Whatever is canon for the webcomic is not canon for the rulebook. The whole idea was that you can play in the world of Savage Worlds. These are not the same characters. These are different guys. And the characters from the webcomic do not appear here at all. And that's intended.
They make tiny cameos in the artwork somewhere, but
and in the and they appear in the adventure cards, but that's basically it. And there are several explanations for what are crystals here and what is actually seen, and none of them are the one that we've actually used. And that is intended so you don't have to feel like you need to be like in the webcomic. All of that being said, we are now working on Original Sin. It's the book that will come out with around the same time as the webcomic. And I say book, but it's a PDF. Okay. It's like, what was the previous name? Life in Sin?
It wasn't called
Living in Sin.
Living in Sin. Yeah.
Living in Sin was the previous one where we just expanded. It was a PDF, 30 pages, something like that, just expanding on these rules. And the canon version of what's actually going on for Savage Worlds and the like will be Original Sin around the time. And another thing I would love to, I hope to get out is finally the arcane background crystals, because there's really no reason for this not to exist as its own product. The crystals in the world of Crystal Heart are very much part of the world. The whole rules for how they work are part of the world, but they don't necessarily have to be. And I already created a version for this in Hebrew, and I just need to basically translate it and finalize it, and it's on the way as well. So I hope to just be able to offer for fantasy players of Savage Worlds like a 15 pages, whatever, with maybe like 10 crystals, maybe more, or maybe you can send them to buy Crystal Heart. All of the crystals are in there. So they can use it just as a magic in whatever system they're already, obviously Savage Worlds, in whatever world they're already using.
Right. No, you should totally just do 10 and then say, if you want more, go look at Crystal Heart and then just create another singularity where all of the sales just collapse into one. Anything you would like to add here at the end?
Yeah, so we mentioned it at the beginning, but again, I keep hearing how important it is to pre-order.
Yes.
I hear from people who work at comic book stores where even just 3 people calling up and saying, hey, have you heard about this book? I would love to pre-order it, makes them order the book in several copies to the store. So if you are interested, if you like Savage Worlds, if you like Crystal Heart, even if you read the whole thing online, but just feel like it would be a lot more convenient to read it as a book rather than press next page 300 times, it would be really, really helpful. It would mean a lot if you pre-ordered it, either through the links that we have on our website, or go up to your favorite comic book store and demand it in a nice, polite way.
Well, I can let you know that at least in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm going to be ordering 4 copies tomorrow on Sunday when I go in pre-ordering them.
What do you need 4 copies for?
Well, because I need one and my son needs one, and then I'm pretty sure Tinker Hellraiser is going to want one, and then her kid is going to want one.
Okay, this all makes sense. Okay.
So yes, that sounds perfect. I will make sure that it'll, and then I'll look it on the pre-order sheet. I'll be like, well, if I need 4, I should probably get like at least another 4. Go for it.
At least 20.
That's right.
But it's a file.
Yeah, that is a good point, Crip. Right. The takeaway here is I don't share books with my son. It's like that meme from Friends. Joey doesn't share food. Dan doesn't share
books. That's fair.
No, Zane's got his own Savage World stuff. He doesn't touch my Savage World.
Oh wow, you have 2 books as well, like 2 core books.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh okay.
Yeah,
there's 2 of the giant.
Those were presents for him. So.
Okay.
It makes it real easy to shop for him for Christmas and his birthday. I can just be like, what is he missing on the? Okay, here you go.
Hey, nice.
So, well, thank you both so much. I am very
Thank you
excited.
for having us.
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
Having us.
My pleasure. DM James is right. He can always tell when I'm actually excited and not just playing a host, because I get this big goofy grin on my face. And I was very excited to talk with you guys about this, because I love the Savage Worlds comic. I love up to 4 players. I love Crystal Heart. I can't wait to have this graphic novel. Like, this is awesome. Like, this is Savage World is going to have a comic at Dark Horse, and
Yes,
you guys, that's amazing.
Yeah, we're really happy to be, like, from the start, from the get-go. We got so much love from Pinnacle,
and from the community.
and from the community. Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
everyone was just yes.
And that's great. And we're happy to give back. And we like it's a community, like Eran said. It's really, really cool to be part of it.
So I was talking with Eran about all the different like areas that I work in the role-playing game industry, and I really think that the Savage Worlds community is like just filled with the best people, the most helpful people. They just want, if you want to do something with Savage Worlds, they want to support it and help it come to life.
It doesn't come from just like thin air. Shane and everyone have been working on it for years. The fact that they give aces, the fact that they gave the fan license and allowed people to savage stuff, it was such a thing. You can savage, and that was a concept for, like, just basically homebrewing and publishing stuff in the early days of the internet. And that's the community you create when you allow for such things to happen.
Well, and not to plug Savage Universe, but I will go ahead and do that. Like, I don't know of another company that says, hey, if you are making stuff for our game using our licenses, we have a way for you to, we can put you in the newsletter. We have savageuniverse.com. We have the Savage Universe show. I get the coolest job at Pinnacle because I get to interview everybody who's doing cool things with Savage Worlds. It's awesome.
Yes. Hooray for everyone involved.
That's right. Well, I'm so excited. We'll make sure that when it releases in November to also do another kind of signal boost for you guys. If you as you have more endeavors, I wish you well on everything. And if there are more Savage World related stuff, let me know, and we'll definitely do articles and have you guys back on.
For sure. Thank you so much for having us, and for the flexibility with all the technology crashing it down on us.
It is truly my pleasure. Well, until next time, go check out Crystal Heart, both the comic and the Savage World setting, and go play more Savage Worlds. Until next time, I hope all of your dice ace.